Hi Ron, good to see you back. Pair of new knees then.
Yeah.
And you lost a bit of weight.
Oh, you're so kind.
Do you think you'll be any quicker this year?
No.
Good. So looking forward to 2020?
Very much so. What am I looking forward to most? Just getting going.
Yeah.
By the end of last year, we left America and really, I was exhausted. But now I can't wait to get to Portimao and get cracking.
Right, good. So you got Pre-66 touring cars and obviously gent drivers that we're going to talk about mostly. But so what are you looking forward to most in those? I mean, there's some regulation changes, I know that. Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Can do.
Pre-66 touring cars?
Yep. Well, it's a bit of a hot topic, as you know.
Yeah.
And in fact, the regulations are pretty similar to the touring cars and the gent drivers' cars. I had a couple of phone calls from some of the front runners saying, don't like it. Are you trying to stop me winning, etc., etc. People must remember, I don't mind who wins. It's not me. So if it was me, I'd feel different. But to us, it's not important who wins. It's that as many people as we can enjoy.
Sure.
So
So you're specifically referring to trying to deal with the kind of dominant car aspect?
Dominant car and driver combination.
Yeah.
We got the idea from Classic Sports Car Club.
Right.
They, for a while, have been running a very successful 30-second penalty for whoever wins a race.
Sure.
And they view it as a badge of honour. I've got the penalty this time. So we looked at that, and because we've not done it before, we only went for 20 seconds for the first win, and if you win again, we've upped it a bit to 25 and then 30.
Yeah.
I don't know if we got it right. Let me say that, but we had to do something because, especially in the Gent Drivers series, there were cars coming along that were so dominant that we were having fantastic cars at the front, but we were losing people at the back because they can't even enjoy themselves. They're being left that far behind. And also, it's always a moving feast. So a couple of years ago, I thought we had it about right. We had the situation where we put E-types and Cobras and TVRs all at the same weight. And, I thought the world was a wonderful place.
Yeah.
And you didn't really know which was going to win, to be honest. You had no idea. It was always, who's it going to be this week? Which, for a race series organiser, is what we want to see. And then everything changes. Along come the Daytona coupes.
Yeah.
And they redesigned things. And what can you do? They were the latest spec, the latest design, the latest, greatest car, the GT series. And finally, someone made replicas of them, and we got them racing with us. So where we'd got to before with our, trying to balance the series out, suddenly was gone out the window. So we tweaked with the rules a bit, which I'm sure you noticed. For example, we lifted the over 3,000 limit for the elongated pit stop to over 4,000.
Yeah.
So we can allow the E-types to come back and have a chance.
Yeah.
And then we looked at the TVRs. Well, they got drum brakes at the back, and they were really struggling against the Cobra. So we've taken 25 kilos off the TVRs. Have we got it right? I don't know.
No.
But we had to do something because suddenly these magnificent Cobras came along, and I love them. I think you've got one coming.
Yeah. Bad timing by the sounds of it.
Which is probably why you're asking. But you just can't have a series where half a dozen Daytonas win everything.
Do you think that was happening though? Or was it one in particular?
Well, what you had with the Julian Thomas and Callum Lockie car was a kind of perfect storm, if you like.
Yeah.
Fabulous
excellent drivers.
Yeah, fabulous car.
Yeah.
Well prepared by Andy Wolff. And then you had Callum, who's a very good driver, and then Julian, who went from being an okay driver to be an outstanding driver.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how he's taught himself that well, but he really has. I mean, he's really amazing what he's done. So you had a stunning car, 2 stunning drivers, total dominance.
Yeah.
Now,
isn't that just motorsport though?
It is motorsport in the modern era.
Yeah.
But we're trying to deal with an era that covered 10, 15 years. You know, so how on earth can you get E-types, Cobras, and all these things trying to balance out? You have to do it by artificial means. Yeah. And so we've taken this idea, which I mentioned, and we're going to do it. A couple of the front boys are not that happy.
Yeah.
But then a few people have said, well, it's what we should have done years ago.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, and it sounds awfully cold to say it, but to us as a business, the man who finishes first, the man who finishes 10th, the man who finishes 31st is equally important to us.
Sure.
When they send their entry fee in, the man who finishes last, if you like, his cheque goes through our bank account at the same speed as the man who finishes first.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
So what I'm trying to say is he's equally important to us.
Sure.
And we've got to try and send him home feeling happy, feeling, well, I have a chance.
One of the issues that you're going to come across is safety cars, for example.
If we look at last season, I was really pleased with the season. There was 1 or 2 aspects I wasn't that happy about looking back, and one of them was the safety car.
Yeah.
We seemed to spoil quite a few races with the safety car going out or picking up the wrong driver or whatever. Yeah. I can't give an explanation why it happened. We try hard for it not to happen, but of course in the Gent Drivers race I'm out there battling away in my little Ginetta, and I don't know, I can't explain everything, but all I do know is we're going to try much harder this year to have less interference from the safety car if we can.
Yeah, and I think most drivers would agree that, you know, sometimes you benefit from that and sometimes you don't. And I guess the closer to the front you are, the more likely you are to benefit from it. One of the things you sometimes hear, which I think is a often unfair criticism from other series and drivers who perhaps come into and out of Masters not as often as I do, is driver standards and the damage that is done often to people's cars that, you know, as it is, that, you know, goes undealt with. Because very often, you know, a lot of the people in the Master Series are perceived, at least, to be much wealthier than your average sort of club racing. And, you know, if they stuff somebody else's car, tough, you know, people go off with a 10 grand bill and just have to get on with it. Are there any moves going to be made this year to try and tighten up on driver standards? I know.
Well, in the Formula One races and in the sports cars races, we've taken strong action to stop that on the first couple of bends, etc. I don't particularly want to bring those rules into GT and touring cars, but it's little known that last year we declined entries from 4 drivers.
Right. Because
I thought their driving was either too aggressive or they had the wrong spirit. And it's not something I wanted to do like Goodwood, where they name and shame. But maybe, just maybe, we're going to have to start that route, because I thought in a couple of events last year, Silverstone, the mini race, Spa, another race, the contact was just totally unacceptable.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's... If you were that determined to win, we don't really want your entry.
No.
And you're a grid rep, you hear this a lot, but you may or may not know that we've already changed our company and club membership conditions. And by rejigging our rules to the club, we can actually decline entries now from anyone.
Sure.
Before it was very difficult. You didn't want someone's entry. So now, if we're not happy with the driver, we go to the grid representatives that are voted for, and we put our case to those. And if they decide that, yes, we don't particularly want this guy with us because bad driving, bad spirit, aggressive driving, aggressive in the paddock, whatever, we can say thanks for entry, but we're declined this time.
Staying with that kind of theme for a moment, but just on the car regulations, again, you know, as a sort of driver representative, you get the odd moan that we have to go to all this expense, you know, to put the stuff on the car, like the boxes and what have you, and then we see people who haven't done that or whatever still allowed to race. Is that going to be a much tighter ship this year?
Rumours are fantastic things.
Sure.
So there were a couple of cases last year where cars raced without boxes with my permission. Simply because one, for example, was a BMW. He turned up at our first event and the Alpha, and they didn't have boxes fitted, and they weren't in our regulations either. They weren't listed in our regulations. So I have a choice. Do I make them fix a box that wasn't in our regulations and possibly ruin their weekend?
Yeah.
Or do I let them race in an invitation class or under pre-agreed conditions?
Yeah.
For example, on the Alpha you mentioned, we had a camera in that car all the time.
Yeah.
And we had it focused totally on the rev counter. And I can tell you that young Ollie Hart never went over 8,000.
Sure.
So there are occasions
Yeah.
where we didn't have something in our regs, but still I wanted the people to race. Those particular cars are now catered for in the regulations, we learned. So, and then there's been other instances where, and I know it's one you were particularly unhappy about, with 2 MSD boxes in one car.
Yeah.
That's finished. It's only one allowed to be fitted now. It's in the regulations, so it won't happen again. And then there's the other things where certain knowledge, absolutely guaranteed, someone's cheating.
Yeah.
And I know you were a victim of that at Silverstone.
Sure,
You were really unhappy with us.
No, that's not true.
Well,
listen, if someone makes an accusation, it's got to be dealt with, and that's perfectly fair.
I was given absolutely chapter and verse how your car was cheating.
Yeah.
And as you know, the scrutineers came and looked at it, we could find nothing wrong. I then asked the FIA to go through your car with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong. But what do you do when someone comes to you and says, this is what they're doing, this is how they're doing it?
Yeah, you've got to deal with it. No, but I think, you know, most people would agree. I mean, I've done a little bit of sort of background to this, obviously knowing that you wanted me to do this. And in fact, I was talking to someone yesterday who's recently sent an email in talking about how fabulous the girls are, the hospitality, the whole thing. And I think if ever you get a strength of view from the drivers, it's because they're keen to protect that.
Right.
And see it carry on as a series and see the good blood stay in and get rid of the bad blood. And people almost take ownership over that and feel very personal about it. It's not the kind of series where you just walk off and do something else. People are quite keen to... Are you proud of that?
I think, you know, when we started this, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago, I wanted to be the greatest racing driver the world have ever seen, and I was just about to be discovered.
Yeah. You think you're any better now than you were then?
I hope on my 2 stone, when I finally kick the bucket, they don't comment on my driving, but they say, well, at least he improved the food.
Yeah.
At events. I believe the Masters Hospitality Unit is what we're all about.
Yeah.
And it should be the epicenter of the whole spirit of what we do. Yeah. We got the girls in there now, Sam and Val, and they try really, really hard to please people. You can't please everyone all the time.
No.
And especially, you know, someone like Silverstone, I think we do 700 meals on some days. And you got captains of industry who normally want their own way there and then. They're used to getting their own way. It's just every day for them, you know.
And very often these people only do a couple of races with you anyway, and Silverstone Classic's a big target for that.
Yeah.
So, Zolder.
Yep.
Nice track. Looking forward to that again. We haven't been there for a little while.
We, talking about the tracks for this coming year, we've not been to Portimao for a long time.
Yeah.
And I know it's a sensational track. Since I was last there, and I think I went there, God knows how long, they've built a new hotel in the middle of the track, which I haven't seen, which apparently is really very nice. So we're going back there, and I'm really looking forward to it. And hopefully the sun will shine, and I might, who knows, I might win. There's a pig fly. And then Brands Hatch, as you know, I like the Brands Hatch event. And then we move on to it comes after Brands Hatch. I'm getting confused with
Donington.
Donington.
That's a welcome return to the calendar, isn't it? Everybody loves a bit of Donington.
And hasn't Donington improved lately?
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be, it's Donington.
Jonathan Palmer's done a great job there.
So we want to get back to Donington. We've learned from our mistakes there. Last time, you may remember, we had a mini race that was an hour race.
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
We learned our lesson from Silverstone, where it was 3 or 2 20-minute races. So that's what we're going to do at Donington this time. It was just too hard going for a lot of the minis during a mini battle. It was just too much.
Yeah.
And then we do the Classic, which I'm really looking forward to again. And then Zolder. I like Zolder.
Yeah.
What can I tell you? It's easy to get to. I like the restaurants in Hasselt, but of course I'll be having a salad this year. I just like it there.
Can you turn it? Because when you go sideways, I can't see you anymore.
Oh, right. I like it there. The food is excellent. The wine's excellent. The organisers, a lady there, she really, really wanted us. And so we're going.
Circuit access, everything is.
Everything works. It's not far from the tunnel and whatever. Zandvoort. I am really looking to see what they've done at Zandvoort to make it Grade 1. I mean, that's going to be really quite something.
Yeah.
And it's a great event anyway. I then end up at Spa, and what can you say about Spa?
Yeah.
I mean, what can you say about Spa?
Great circuit. I mean, I must admit, you look at other series and they just don't have the depth of circuits there, do they, sadly? A lot of them. So that's a good thing, I think, for Masters, because we all know and appreciate that's, although we might be paying higher entry fees, that actually the track time at those places, particularly at those events, must
just
be
expensive.
A challenge financially.
It's expensive, but a lot of our drivers are perhaps prepared to spend more money than to go to, say, Zandvoort than they would to go to Alton Park or whatever.
Yeah.
It's horses for courses.
There's also been some changes this year about kind of points, how you accumulate the points.
Okay.
But that's in a different kind of...
Yeah, so this is to adhere to the FIA's rules that you can't score points in a non-championship event. So everyone has their own different ways of doing it. What we will do is after each and every race, we will look at the results and award merit as we think suitable.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the whole 7 events, we will then declare who we think on merit and on results and overall who came out the best.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, you've got to do something to deal with it. And just slight change of subject, but in a similar sort of, the elite drivers. So you're doing something to deal with them. I mean, I was talking about your driving. So I segued quickly
straight into elite. I appreciate that you put it in the same category. Right. So it's a problem, and it's a problem we have to deal with head on. There's so many different names to call drivers: elite drivers, graded drivers, pro drivers, semi-pro drivers. Let me make it clear straight away that we have no problem with the drivers, the likes of Martin Stratton, Simon Hadfield, Nick Padmore, Andy Wolf. These are, I call them elite in my world. They're bloody good drivers.
Annoyingly good. That's what I call them.
Yeah, frustrating. Yeah. But they give something to our series.
Yeah.
And they share with others.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might be hanging on to the back of someone and you see the better driver getting, you think, oh, they're gone. But it's kind of it's never been an overwhelming problem. And I think some of these guys play the game. They understand what it's about. Jake Hill, for example, fabulous driver. He really has got the right spirit. He co-drives with Rob Fenn in the Mustang and whatever. Not a problem. And
the great race at the Classic as well with the Mustang.
Oh yeah, wonderful.
He won it on 3 wheels.
Yeah. And wasn't that good, the sportsmanship?
I mean, one of the
That's
best,
what it's about,
that's
isn't it?
probably the best sporting moment I've ever seen.
Yeah.
In motor race. I mean, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it was good.
Because I know Craig wanted to win that event and to give it up.
But that's what it's about. And I appreciate Craig.
Jack.
But what we're not going to accept entries from going forward is pure pro drivers that step into our world, into the historic world, take away the big prize, and we never see them again.
Yeah.
They're either put in cars by owners that want to win, put in cars for specific reasons. Most of them are very young, very talented, and they've got ambitions and aspirations on being pro drivers. And they drive away from some of our guys, and it's just, we can't do it. So because of our new regulations, if they enter, and we don't want them, we would put it to the drivers' representatives saying we don't want this, this and this, and return their entries.
Of course, the flip side to that is, and you quoted Jake Hill as an example, I mean, isn't it great to be on the same track as people like that? You know, and if you don't blink, you can see him lap you.
Yes, but he does share with a non-pro, so that I think is quite crucial.
Yeah.
Where you get just a pro stepping in, it's not what we want.
No. That's understandable.
And I learnt my lesson a couple of years ago.
Will I still be allowed in?
Bye-bye. It was nice. Anyway, is that enough?
Yeah,
you
that's
grilled
fine.
me enough.
Yeah, I think I've grilled you enough. Thanks for all your honest answers. I hope your knees get better.
And I hope you can take me driving away from you in my Mini and you in your Cortina.
We'll see, Ron.